white supremacists who are trying to build a stronghold here in New Jersey that they are not welcome, they will not be tolerated, they will be called out, and we will break them.
Jenkins and other groups, including the NAACP and the National Organization for Women, drowned out Barrett's speech by playing loud music.
Just by being here, I can say that I did something, like I spoke out my opinion against these people.
Some did more than just speak out. When Barrett and his group marched around the courthouse, a skirmish broke out and police used pepper spray. Police say 7 people were arrested after breaking down barricades and rushing out at police. They were taken here to the county jail where protesters are waiting outside demanding their release. Claiming victory, Barrett was escorted out of town, but demonstrators say their voices and actions were louder.
It's in the right direction, stopping a man like this from growing and becoming powerful.
Now, police say in the end, 8 adults and 2 juveniles were arrested and charged with riot. The supremacists blame their low turnout on tight security, as well as all the demonstrators. Kathleen?
Even when it's not a popular one. A nationalist rally in New Jersey today, led by white supremacists, illustrated that freedom. As New Jersey correspondent Pamela Chan reports now, the rally had a large turnout, but not one of support.
Calling it Independence from Affirmative Action Day, Mississippi-based white supremacist and lawyer Richard Barrett led a group of 8 in a noontime rally at the county courthouse in Morristown. They call themselves the Nationalist Movement and want to see affirmative action abolished.
If you work more, you should have more in America, and no affirmative action should shut you out. If you study harder, you should become more, and no Equal Opportunities Commission should kick you out of your job. That's the message.
But his message quickly turned to mayhem as about 300 counter-demonstrators lined the street across from Barrett, calling him a racist and a fascist. About a dozen even charged down police barricades in anger and were quickly arrested.
He's nothing more than Charles Manson in a different form. That's all he is, a brainwasher. What we're out here doing is trying to hold a peaceful rally, not in defense of ourselves, but to stand up and show who we are, and that we cannot be kicked around.
We think about the Nazis in Germany and how, they really built up a movement, and we don't want that stuff to happen again. And this is why it's really important to be here, to fight back.
Today's show of events is typical of Richard Barrett's demonstrations. Described as an outcast even among bigots, he typically draws less than a dozen supporters, but hundreds of counter-protesters.
The Nationalist Movement chose New Jersey for today's rally because they are also protesting the firing of former State Police Superintendent Carl Williams. He was removed for racist comments he made in defense of racial profiling. That brought out the People's Organization for Progress, a group that has been fighting police brutality.
We're here today to make a stand for justice, to say that we want a society where there's no racism, where all people can live together as brothers.
Hundreds of law enforcement officers dressed in riot gear were also on hand, but no one was seriously injured. Barrett, who is from New Jersey and a Rutgers graduate, has marched with the Ku Klux Klan. He claims to have members in 35 states, but in New Jersey, he was speaking to nothing but an empty street and those in opposition to his message. In Morristown, I'm Pamela Chan for the WB11 News at 10.
Sparklers set off in the East River. A rally and a counter-rally turned July 4th into more of a street battle. This all happened in Morristown. That's in Morris County, New Jersey. Demonstrators clashed with police in the streets of Morristown, New Jersey. Some of them were maced after trying to charge through barricades. 10 wound up in handcuffs on their way to the county jail.
They march, we march.
They came to protest a rally staged by this man, Richard Barrett. Barrett is the leader of the Mississippi-based group, the Nationalist Movement. Called everything from a white supremacist to a neo-Nazi, all of them are titles that he disagrees with.
We call ourselves Americans, we call ourselves nationalists, and we call ourselves pro-majority.
Barrett's small group of 9 supporters was outnumbered by the wall of police. At least 300 cops from 20 different New Jersey towns lined the streets with gas masks and riot gear. The counter-demonstrators represented at least 6 groups who want to stop what they call Barrett's message of hate.
March with us!
We believe politically that these types of groups should be confronted physically. Physical confrontation, not just words and stuff like that, but kick their ass, basically.
People who live in Morristown say that they have never seen a 4th of July quite like this one.
I think it's disgusting that the government stands behind these racist, fascist, vile elements out here and supports them like this.
Yes, every right in the world to protest. I think that's what the country's all about.
I don't know, but I've been told.
Barrett argued in federal court for the right to protest in Morristown.
This is Washington's headquarters, and this is the 4th of July. He said no to the favors of royalty, and today, like him, we're saying no to favors for minorities, privileged characters, and affirmative action in America.
Morristown shouldn't even allow something like this. You know, there's a big population of blacks in the community, big population of Spanish, whites, everything, you know, and it's just, I think it's ridiculous.
Richard Barrett says that he would like to see an end to affirmative action and the reinstatement of former New Jersey Police Superintendent Carl Williams. Williams was fired last year at the height of the state's controversy over racial profiling.
Police in riot gear surrounded the Morris County Courthouse during a rally by a white supremacist group today. The Mississippi-based Nationalist Movement came to Morristown for their so-called Independence Day from Affirmative Action parade. As News 12 New Jersey's Keith Taylor reports, several groups of counter-demonstrators showed up and things got out of hand.
The barricades get pushed down, protesters spill into the streets, and police make arrests. They're all here to protest against Richard Barrett and the Nationalist Movement.
Down with affirmative action!
And we just came out here symbolically to say, let's have freedom and opportunity in America, and down with affirmative action and favors for the few.
They march! We march! They march! We march!
Counter-demonstrators became upset that they're kept behind barricades, while Barrett is able to march around the Morris County Courthouse protected by police and riot gear.
God bless Carl Williams!
They support Carl Williams, the former state police superintendent fired by the governor for making racial remarks during the racial profiling investigation.
If you work more, you should have more in America, and no affirmative action should shut you out.
A lot of workers are really angry at these guys who come and march in Morristown and attempt to bring their racism and their garbage and their anti-immigrant lies.
Once again, the barricades come down and demonstrators start yelling and spitting at police. Police use pepper spray to break up the crowd, and they make arrests. Some are disgusted with the police.
They're using pepper spray on 14-year-old girls.
After Barrett and his group started marching around the courthouse, counter-demonstrators started marching through the streets of Morristown. They marched to Town Hall and the police department to fight to have those arrested released. In Morristown, Keith Taylor, News 12 New Jersey.
Morristown had 20 police agencies on the streets. 10
demonstrators were arrested in Morristown after some of them broke through the police barricades. Here's Stacy Sager with our report.
It was nothing like the typical 4th of July parade here in Morristown. Instead, an imposing parade of police in riot gear, forced to protect a handful of white supremacists from Mississippi who staged a rally and march.
It is appalling! It is appalling! The way that you protect that fascist filth!
As a counter-demonstration grew angrier and angrier, the confrontation with police got ugly. One woman protesting racism broke through the police barrier and then was sprayed by police, not once, but twice. And she wasn't the only one, not to mention those arrested as the shouting match continued.
We're going to kill each other. It's the year 2000. What is this? What is this? This is madness.
The strategy was to drown out this man, Richard Barrett, who says his group is called the Nationalist Movement, which some have linked to the KKK.
It's a pretty simple question, sir. I'm just asking if you've marched with the Ku Klux Klan.
I march with the American people. We are the Nationalist Movement, and that's all that we are. We don't affiliate with anyone. We are our own organization.
He does claim to be for a majority, although he had only 5 members present, as opposed to hundreds here to stop him.
Many of the people who live here in Morristown were stunned by what they saw here today, not only by the messages of hatred, but also the apparent drain on this town's resources. Police were called in from several counties.
There are many who wish the group hadn't been permitted to march here, others who say it is freedom of speech. No doubt an angry debate on a day about freedom, with some left questioning just what our forefathers intended. In Morristown, I'm Stacy Sager, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Supremacist rally in Morristown today.
Police arrested 10 counter-demonstrators, mostly for rushing around the barricades. Scores of sheriff's deputies kept the crowd of more than 300 separated from the Nationalist Movement demonstrators. They fired pepper spray into the crowd, hitting not only protesters but bystanders, including, as you saw, at least one child. The white supremacists were far outnumbered. Leader Richard Barrett drew only a small gathering of followers. Fewer than a dozen showed up.